The Cursed Princess No Man Dared to Love. Part 1. The Whispering Curse. The night was silent, save for the howling wind that wrapped around the towering walls of Blackthorn Castle. Nestled in the heart of an ancient forest, the castle stood as a haunting relic of a forgotten time. Its high spires clawed at the stormy sky, and its massive gates bore the scars of centuries. Inside its cold stone halls, a girl stood by the window, watching the dark clouds roll across the moon. Her name was Princess Seraphina, beloved by none, feared by all. Whispers of her existence spread like wildfire through the kingdom. They spoke of her unnatural beauty, her piercing silver eyes that glowed like moonlight, and the eerie silence that followed her wherever she went. But most of all, they spoke of the curse. A curse that had doomed every man who dared to love her. Her father, King Aldric, had once tried to defy fate. He arranged suitors from the wealthiest, bravest noble families, promising a kingdom's riches to the man who would marry his daughter. But each time a man stepped forward, he met a tragic fate. Some fell ill with a sickness no healer could cure. Others vanished without a trace, their bodies later found in the depths of the Blackthorn forest, drained of blood, their faces frozen in expressions of sheer terror. As the years passed, the kingdom grew fearful. No man dared to approach the princess. The castle, once filled with laughter and music, became a place of dread. And Seraphina, trapped within its cursed walls, remained alone. The stranger who came at dusk. One evening, as the last light of the sun bled into the horizon, a hooded figure arrived at the castle gates. The guards hesitated, their hands gripping their swords. Strangers rarely approached Blackthorn Castle, and those who did never returned. "I seek an audience with the princess," the man said, his voice deep and steady. The guards exchanged uneasy glances. "And why would you seek her?" one of them asked. The stranger pulled back his hood, revealing a face chiseled like stone, with dark, knowing eyes. "Because I do not fear her curse." Word of the visitor reached King Aldric, who, though wary, allowed him entry. He was taken to the grand hall, where the princess sat in silence, her long silver hair cascading over her pale shoulders. She looked up as the doors creaked open, her gaze locking onto the man's. For a moment, the air grew thick, charged with an energy neither of them could explain. "You know who I am," she said, her voice as soft as a whisper yet echoing through the vast chamber. "I do," the man replied, stepping forward. "And I know what haunts you." The king watched the exchange carefully. "Who are you?" he demanded. The man turned his gaze to the king. "I am Darius, a scholar of the old ways. I have spent my life studying curses, unraveling their mysteries. I have come to break hers." The room fell silent. The flames in the torches flickered as if disturbed by an unseen force. Seraphina stood, her hands trembling slightly. "You cannot break what is woven into my very soul," she said. "Many have tried, and they have all perished." Darius studied her carefully. "Because they sought to love you," he said. "But love is not what binds this curse to you, is it?" At his words, a cold gust swept through the hall. The doors slammed shut. The shadows in the corners of the room seemed to stretch, reaching toward them. Seraphina's breath hitched. She had never spoken the truth of her curse aloud. But somehow, this stranger understood. "The curse does not kill those who love me," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "It kills those I love." Darius did not flinch. "Then tell me, who was the first?" The princess turned away, her hands clutching the fabric of her gown. "My mother," she said after a long pause. "She died the night I was born. They say she was found in her chambers, her body cold, her lips blue. The midwife who delivered me swore she saw something dark, leave my mother's body and enter mine." A shiver ran down Darius's spine, but he remained composed. "And the others?" Seraphina closed her eyes. "My nursemaid, when I was 5. My childhood friend, when I was 10. The stable boy who used to sneak me sugared plums. And then, my betrothed." Darius exhaled, piecing together the puzzle. "The curse does not punish those who love you. It punishes those you dare to love in return." At that moment, a low, guttural whisper echoed through the hall. It came from nowhere and everywhere all at once. The air grew thick with the scent of decay. The torches dimmed, their flames struggling against the darkness that crept along the walls. "Do not speak of what you do not understand," the voice growled. Darius turned sharply, scanning the room. "It speaks," he murmured. Seraphina's hands clenched into fists. "It has always spoken," she said. "But no one else has ever heard it." The room grew colder. The darkness at the edges of the chamber began to take shape, forming a twisted silhouette, something tall, hunched, with hollow, glowing eyes. Its voice slithered through the air like a whisper laced with venom. "She is mine," it rasped. "Her heart belongs to me alone." Darius stepped in front of Seraphina. "What are you?" he demanded. The shadow let out a slow, chilling laugh. "I am the one who was cast away," it said. "The one who was forgotten. I was bound to her before she was even born." Seraphina's breath trembled. "Bound," she repeated. The shadow's form twisted, its dark tendrils reaching toward her. "You are my bride, Seraphina. And every time you give your love to another, I take them away, so that you remain mine." A gasp echoed through the hall. The revelation hung heavy in the air. The curse was not just a force of magic, it was something living. Something sentient. Darius's mind raced. If this entity had claimed Seraphina as its own, then severing its hold would not be as simple as breaking a spell. It would be a battle against something ancient and possessive. The king, pale and shaking, spoke at last. "Is there a way to break this?" Darius turned to him, his expression grim. "Perhaps," he said. "But it will not be easy. And it will not be without cost." Seraphina's fingers trembled as she met his gaze. "I will do whatever it takes," she whispered. "I cannot live like this any more." The shadow let out a low, rumbling growl. "Then prepare yourself, my love," it hissed. "For if you try to leave me, I will show you what true horror is." The torches flickered violently, and then darkness.